my name is April Hobbs. I am the Adult Services Librarian over at St. Paul's Hollywood Branch, and today I'm going to show you how to make Hong Kong Egg Tarts for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Now, the ingredients you will need include all-purpose flour, salt, unsalted butter, cold water, granulated sugar, hot water, evaporated milk, large eggs, and vanilla extract. First, we're going to make our dough first. Now, the dough is more time intensive. It's going to have to spend some time in the fridge settling and resting. So we're going to get started on the dough. So let's get started. Today, we're going to try to, in a bowl, combine our flour and salt. You need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we need 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. All right, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt is in, and we're going to mix these together. All right, we're going to mix the flour and salt together. All right, once we have the flour and salt mixed together, we're going to cut our butter into small cubes. Now you need about 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and it has to be slightly softened. And the reason why the butter has to be slightly softened is because it'll give when you press it, but it's not so soft that it collapses. You want it to be soft enough to break apart with your fingers, but it shouldn't immediately form a paste of the flour as well. So we're going to cut our butter into small cubes and add it to the flour and salt. So I'm going to cut it into these big cubes first, and then I'm going to make smaller cubes. Now they have gotten soft enough so that I'm going to add them to the mixture. And I know like making dough can be very time intensive, but when the dough turns out just right, you know it's worth it. And this is how it's going to be, because Hong Kong Egg Tarts are really good. They are closely related to British Egg Tarts, and actually that's how Hong Kong Egg Tarts can be. They're very influenced by British Egg Tarts, and I think that's how they came to be in Hong Kong, was the British influence. Now, I don't know about you, but I love a good pastry. So make sure you add all 12 tablespoons of butter. Make sure they're cut up into small cubes. Now your Hong Kong Egg Tarts, like the filling should look really yellow. If it doesn't look super yellow, apparently it's not as authentic. So I used a recipe from this family, and they have a recipe website called The Walks of Life, and they have really good Asian inspired recipes and stuff like that. Very authentic too. I highly recommend using that website for these kind of recipes, but we also have a lot of cookbooks in our collection that would have Hong Kong Egg Tarts or something similar. So make sure you check those out. Hong Kong Egg Tarts. I don't know where you can get them around here, but I'm sure you can get them at certain restaurants. If you know of any restaurants that serve egg tarts that are in the Chinese or Hong Kong style, comment on the video. Let us know, because we all want to try it, especially when it's COVID safe to eat in restaurants and to visit restaurants. So let us know if you know of anywhere around Charleston that sells egg tarts like these, because if you don't feel like making them, you can go buy them. Now, after I get this butter done and cut up, I am going to try to work it quickly, the flour, salt, and butter mixture. Make sure you break it up roughly with your fingers until it resembles like coarse crumbs, with some pea-sized chunks of butter still in the mixture. So once this is done, I'm going to work with it with my fingers, make sure it looks like coarse crumbs, and then we'll move on to the next step. So, all right. I have cut all my butter and it's in the mixture. So now I'm going to work with it with my fingers to break it up into coarse crumbs. So trying to break up the butter with our fingers with the flour and salt mixture. All right, so we have our crushed crumbs ready. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of cold water and bring the dough together with our hands. So I have a bowl of cold water over here. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons to my bowl, and then we're gonna work it with our hands. Now, you can add a little more water if necessary. You should start with half a teaspoon, but you should not go no more than 3 teaspoons. So I'm going to add another half teaspoon to this because I still have some dry stuff at the bottom. So I'm going to grab my half teaspoon and add some water and see if that will help. Okay. Added some water, working the dough. So at this point, the dough will be scraggly and dry, and it's still kind of scraggly and dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the dough tightly in plastic and refrigerate it for 20 minutes because we need to rest the dough in the refrigerator to allow the flour in the dough to continue to absorb the moisture. So I am going to grab our plastic and get the dough on it and wrap it and put it in the fridge. So I got my plastic so I can get the dough on it. We want the dough to rest for 20 minutes in the fridge, so I'm going to wrap this up tightly and place it in the fridge for 20 minutes. All right, so our dough has sat in the fridge for 20 minutes, and now we're going to lightly flour our surface and roll out the dough into a roughly 6 by 15 inch rectangle. To make sure you work quickly to avoid overworking it. So what I'm going to do So I'm going to flour my surface lightly. Do a little sprinkle action. Make it rain. Make it rain flour. All right, lightly floured surface. I'm going to take my dough off the plastic and I'm going to roll it out, hopefully quickly. Oh, this is, yeah. Sticking to the pan, the rolling pin. Make sure we'll do a little flouring on this. So make sure you work quickly to avoid overworking the dough. You want it to be 6 by 15. So this is about 6 by 15. It's still kind of crumbly. So we're going to fold the top third of the dough down to the center. And then, ooh, this is falling apart. Top third down to center. And then the bottom third up and over this. And then you're going to turn it a quarter turn, left or right, and roll it out again. Still falling apart. Sometimes that happens with pastry dough like this. It's just a little bit, it's going to get crumbly. So I'm going to roll it out and then I'm going to fold it the same way as before. So we're going to fold it front half down like this, and then this one come up like so, and then we're going to make sure this. And then you're going to refrigerate it for an hour, and then we'll move on to the next step. But I'm actually going to refrigerate it overnight and work the rest of the recipe tomorrow. So you can let it rest for an hour, or you can move on to the rest of the recipe, but I'm going to have it sit overnight to rest. So recipe calls for an hour, but you can also do it overnight. So we're going to take the dough and put it back in the fridge to rest. As you can see, it's a little square, so this is what we're going to put in the fridge, and then we'll work with it tomorrow. So, hi, this is April again. We are getting started with our filling for the Hong Kong Egg Tarts. I let my dough rest in the fridge overnight, and now I have it resting on my countertop so it can soften up a little bit, because it kind of like gets a little tough in the fridge. So while it's resting in the fridge, make sure you remember afterwards to let it sit out for a little bit so it's easier to work with the rolling pin. So I have this set to the side so it can get soft. And then I'm going to start my filling. What you need right now, you need to make sure that you heat up a cup of water in a saucepan, and then you're going to add half a cup of granulated sugar and make sure you mix that well so the sugar is fully dissolved in the hot water. Then you're going to wait for it to rest until it's room temperature. So now we are going to allow that mixture to cool to room temperature. Then we're going to whisk our evaporated milk, our eggs, and our vanilla together to make the filling. So what you need right now, you need a half a cup of evaporated milk. So we have our half a cup of evaporated milk. And then you need 3 large eggs. They said you should wait until the room temperature. I don't. It's fine. You can do whatever. Just make sure you dispose of your eggs how you want to. We have a compost, so I usually set it to the side so I can compost it later. So 3 large eggs. And our 3rd egg. There we go. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick because, you know, salmonella. All right, so I just washed my hands after handling the eggs. Now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract to the filling mixture. So vanilla has been added. Now I am going to thoroughly whisk this together so that it's fully mixed. It may take a while for your sugar water mixture to cool down to room temperature. I try to move it to a little handy dandy thing so it can cool down, but it may not be fully room temperature yet. So, all right, so my egg mixture with the vanilla and evaporated milk is mixed together. And I'm gonna add my sugar water when it becomes room temperature, so we'll be right back. All right, so our water and sugar mixture has cooled to room temperature. Now I'm gonna whisk it into the egg, evaporated milk, and vanilla mixture. So make sure you whisk it thoroughly. Now, this recipe makes 16 tarts, like the little mini egg tarts, but I have a pan that's only 12 egg tarts. Our oven's done, preheating. Okay, our oven's done preheating, but as I said before, my tart pan only makes 12 mini egg tarts. So I'm gonna pour the rest of the mixture I have into like a creme brulee pan, and I'm gonna like make like a kind of like a egg tart creme brulee, but without the crust. So just to use up the rest of the mixture. And it caramelizes and makes it a little more sweeter because the Hong Kong egg tarts are not as sweet as the British or Portuguese egg tarts. So that's something you need to know too about the Hong Kong egg tarts. They're not as sweet, but they're just as good. All right, I've mixed my sugar water and the egg mixture together. Now you're gonna have to pour the mixture through a fine mesh strainer into another bowl, or you can pour it into another measuring cup that has a spout that's easily poured into the tart pan on your crust and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So we're gonna pour it through a fine mesh strainer. I have a fine mesh strainer right here over a bowl. So it's gonna catch anything. There we go. So I've poured it into another bowl. Now I'm going to take this bowl and I'm going to pour it into my measuring cup so I can set it aside for when I put the mixture into the tart cups. So make sure you're very careful. Like so. So we have about, it should be like 2 cups of mixture, about 2 cups, yeah, almost 2.5 cups. So I'll set this aside for when we pour it into our tart pan. All right, so I have my egg mixture set aside and now my dough has finished resting and I'm gonna roll it out into about like 0.5, it's like 5 millimeters thick or 0.2 inches thick. You're supposed to roll it out to that, and then you're going to take a 4-inch circle and make the little tart circles in it, and you're going to press it into the pan. So I'm going to roll out my dough real quick. So, and like I said before, make sure after you've had it in the fridge, you set it out for a little bit because it's really hard to roll it out when it's just coming out of the fridge because it's a little hard and a little hard to work with. But yeah, just make sure you roll it out really good. It keeps getting stuck to the rolling pin. But make sure you roll it out to about 0.2 inches thick or 5 millimeters thick. So if you're not used to making pastry dough, I know it's like kind of aggravating if you haven't done it in a while or haven't done it either. But you know, it's fun to try out new recipes and see what works best. So this keeps getting stuck to the thing. So she rolled out. Alright, so I think I've rolled out enough for now, so I'm going to start having my little cutter go in. So I'm using like a little coffee cup, teacup kind of thing, so I'm going to go ahead and make my little circles and see how many I can get out of this, and I'm going to probably like fold it back over and roll it out again if I can't get enough. But like I said, I have a 12 whole mini tart pan, so I'm going to try to get as much as I can out of this. And if the little circles don't come out perfectly, it's fine. It doesn't have to look perfect. Alright, so I think I've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 circles out of this one. So I'm going to go ahead and bring over my tart pan and start putting these in, and then I'm going to have to fold over my dough again, roll it out again to make some more. So all right, so I'm putting the crust into the pan, and make sure you press it against the side so it gets that tart shape. And it's fun if it the crust comes over the lip, because you want to make sure that when you press or when you pour the mixture in, if it gets a little bit over, it'll be fine. So and like I said, your crust doesn't have to look perfect. Actually, this might be a little thicker than what it's supposed to be, but you know, it'll be fine. Crust is good. So I have about 9 circles cut out, and I'm gonna have to do 3 more, but I think I have enough crust left over for me to roll it out and do 3 more. So like I said, you're just pressing it into the pan and pressing it into the side. This is number 9, so I'm going to have to roll out some more dough, and then we'll have our crust ready for our filling. All right, so I made 3 more out of the dough. That is a dog in the background. That's her walking around. Her name's Rhea. Say hey to Rhea. Hey Rhea, look up.
Yes, I know.
All right. All right, so we have our last 3 into our pan. And then I'm going to pour the filling into it and then put it in the oven at 375. And once you get it in the oven at 375, you immediately bump it down to 350 and bake for 26, 29 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get my filling into this real quick. You want to fill them about 3/4 full. Uh-oh, filled it a little too much. If you make a little mess, it's fine. Oh, I made a lot of mess. Can we switch hands? All right, so we have our filling into our pan. So now I'm going to place it in the oven at 375. And once I place it in the oven, I'm going to immediately bump it down to 350 and bake for 26 to 29 minutes or until the filling is just set. If you can stick a toothpick in it and it stands up, you're good. All right, so we just got them out of the oven and they have set. So make sure after you get them out of the oven, you let them set for about 10 minutes before you start enjoying them. You can also have them cold. They're delicious either way. So we have them out of the oven and they are not pretty, but they're tasty. So there you go. Thank you for joining me today with making Hong Kong Egg Tarts. We just got them out of the oven and they look really nice. Make sure you let them sit for 10 minutes before you enjoy them. And then you'll have delicious egg tarts. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it and good luck with making Hong Kong egg tarts as well. Make sure you post your finished versions as well. That'd be great. All right, thank you. See you next time.